This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, thank you everyone for coming today. First on the agenda is introduction. What we've been doing is just referring to the attendance list. For that, we haven't been necessarily going around the room or anything like that. So welcome everybody. The next on the agenda is public comments. Are there any public comments? Okay, I'll take that as no. Item 3, approval of January 10th minutes. The minutes were included in the handouts. So if there's any comments on the minutes, and if there's not, we'll just have a consensus agreement to accept them. So are there any comments? Okay, I'll consider that approval of the minutes. Okay, item 4, Montachusett Federal Fiscal Year 2024 through 28 Transportation Improvement Program. So at the January meeting of the NPO, the group released 2 TIP amendments for the current TIP, which is 2024 through 2028. It was sent out for a 21-day public comment period, and both amendments had the same comment period. Started Friday, January 26th through Friday, February 16th. So we're within the comment period right now. And what we were going to do is to present the information on these to the group. If there's any comments, official or otherwise, from JTC members, we can document those. In any event, what we're looking for is a consensus recommendation, as we typically do, to the NPO to endorse these at next month's meeting. So I'll go over these in detail. If there's any questions, please let me know, and I can try to answer those as best I can. The first of the 2 amendments, this is actually amendment number 3 to the 24 through 28 TIP. This is on the highway side. It has to do with federal fiscal years 2024, and there's 2 projects involved in amendment number 3. The first is project number 608723 in Athol, intersection improvements at Crescent Street and Chestnut Hill Avenue. This is originally funded with coronavirus response and relief supplemental appropriations funds, and we had to change the funding source because of a congressional shutdown result of a ruling to avert a congressional shutdown last June. These funds had to be immediately obligated, or else we'd lose out on them. So we had to find another funding source. So in this case, we moved it over to Surface Transportation Block Grant Funds, or STBG. So nothing else changed with this project. It still remains in the same year, the same dollar amount, just a funding source. So we had to amend that into the TIP. The other project involved with Amendment 3 is 612110, Fitchburg Ashby resurfacing and related work on Route 31. Mass DOT reached out to us. They suggest moving this back 1 fiscal year. So it's currently in federal fiscal year 2024, but due to concerns with project readiness and deliverability, they suggest moving it back 1 year to federal fiscal year 25. So this is amendment number 3. As I mentioned, we're looking at consensus recommendation to the NPO to endorse this at next week's meeting. There is another amendment to discuss. I can go over that first, or we can take a consensus recommendation on this amendment before we get into the next one.
I'll make a motion to be approved as presented.
I second that.
Okay, any questions? Okay, and we're not taking a formal vote here. We'll just consider that consensus recommendation to approve for the NPO. The second amendment involved today is amendment number 4 to the 24 through 28 TIP. This is on the transit side, federal fiscal year 2024. And this is pretty simple. It's just the addition of 2 projects that we didn't previously have listed. So this is due to the awarding of community transit grant awards We didn't document this in the original document because we didn't have the information at that time, but we're required to carry this in the tip. So this is for Montachusett Regional Transit Authority, advancing community connections to expand and share services for mobility, accessibility, and ride sharing and technology. And another project, Montachusett Regional Transit Authority, Council on Aging, Transportation, enhanced planning, and increase older adult ride opportunities. Again, these are new projects that we're required to document within the tip, so we're amending them in. Is there a consensus on this recommendation to the NPO?
Yes.
Okay. Does anyone else have any comments on these, or is it okay to give the NPO the recommendation to go ahead and endorse these next week?
I make a recommendation to be presented to the MPO to be approved.
Okay, I'll consider that the consensus of the group then. Well, thank you. There's still a few days left in the comment period, so if something comes up, you can make an official comment or reach out to us, and we can try to give you some more information.
Ryan, have you heard any comments, received any comments at all?
No, we have not on these two amendments, so which is pretty typical with these, and these are pretty straightforward. So very rarely do we receive comments, but you know, we use this as an opportunity to talk about the amendments with this group. So
Okay, thank you.
and that's it for the amendments. That's it for item 4. So I can move on to item number 5, which is Montachusett Federal Fiscal Year 2025 to 29 Transportation Improvement Program. And this is the program that we're working on right now. As I mentioned the last few meetings, where we'll be talking about this over the next several months. The idea is to have a draft in April and hopefully endorsement by the NPO in May. And the JTC will get a chance to make an official recommendation to them once we have the draft available. And I'll continue to keep on bringing information forward to the group to discuss. So today, typically what we do at this point of the year, every year, is discuss our transportation evaluation criteria. This is basically what we use to score all the projects that we see in the target section. It's also known as TEC. We refer to it as TEC. But just to give you an indication of what we consider in the ranking process, this is the score sheet that we use. So we look at things such as condition. We have a number of different categories which we look at. We look at things such as the effect a project will have on the condition of the pavement or on the facility. For example, if it's a resurfacing project, we assume that it'll be an improvement to the pavement. We look at things such as effect that it has on different facilities, such as bike lanes or drainage, utilities, that sort. We look at the average daily traffic on the facility. We score it based on what improvements it makes on complete streets concepts. In mobility section, we look at the effect it may have on congestion. Is it a project that will relieve congestion? Will it have an effect on regional travel time? Is there any effect that will have on the transit facilities in the area? Safety. We look at a number of different categories in safety. We look at crash rate and crash severity. Project have the effect on bicycle or pedestrian safety. If it includes upgrades to sidewalks, stuff like that, we consider that a safety improvement as well. Whether or not the project is listed on an identified list of top safety concerns in the region, crash locations, and that sort of thing. Community effects and support. We look at the impact that it may have on residential neighborhoods, good or bad, related to noise and aesthetics, that sort of thing. Effect that it may have on different populations, and also the support it may have from local governments. And also item number 16 here is their active participation from the community in the MPO, MRPC, or JTC. So we actually look at that too, participation within the community in these groups. And JTC actually gets 2 points for our participation. So if you have a project in your region, in your community, and you're an active participant in these groups, you actually get credit for that. Land use and economic development, we look at things like the effect it may have on business or commercialized areas. We look at if it matches up with local concepts and plans, or the effect it may have on job creation or job access. Also, if it's on evacuation route. And finally, environmental effects, a number of different things. We look at positive or negative effects it may have on the environment, such as water quality, historic or cultural resources, wildlife habitats, or resiliency in general. So that's how we end up with the project scores that you see. We always include these TEC scores when we reference these projects. The idea is to, this is used in the decision-making process. It allows us to be able to sort of rank the projects against each other. And this is sort of the world of projects, which you see right here in the target section. So these are all the projects we're considering for funding. And they're all listed in order from highest priority or highest TEC score to lowest. And typically what happens is projects will come about. This year, for example, we have 2 new TIP projects to consider. You can see those at the bottom of the list. One in Gardner, which is a shared use path on the North Central Pathway, and one in Westminster, which is a roundabout. We haven't gathered information on these projects yet. Not a lot of information is available. They're very preliminary design. So this is our aim, is to try to gather as much information as we can and score these projects. You can see the projects above those we've scored over the years. We try to update this every year. Typically a project comes on board, we have very little information, and that sort of ramps up over time as a design consultant comes on board, and so on and so forth. So this is just to give everybody here a sort of an inside view of the types of things we're looking at when we're ranking these projects. And of course, as many of you are aware of, this is just one of a few different factors that we look at when scheduling these projects in the TIP. As much or more important to a project and where it's scheduled to go is probably just general project readiness, whether or not the design is ready to go for bid in a certain federal fiscal year. That's very important. And also cost. We need to be able to fit it within our budget. So it's a fiscally constrained document. So these 3 items, TEC score, project readiness, and costs, are always under consideration. And this brings us to our list of existing projects in the target section as it stands today. We went over this in some detail last month, but since that time, we've gathered some more information on project statuses in the last few weeks. We're still waiting for some cost estimates. We expect some changes there, but just to give you an update of where we stand as it is right now. Right now, we have in federal fiscal year 25, Leominster reconstruction on Route 12. This is the second year of a advanced constructed project. So the majority of this project is happening in federal fiscal year 2024. This is just the remainder in 2025. Along with that is Ashburnham Road Rehab on Route 101. You can see the highlighted additional information box. In our updates that we've gathered, and something that we'll probably need to consider this year, next month when we really get into the details about scenarios of project placement, is it's recommended to consider to move this project back because of project readiness. We really need to have a good indication that a project will be ready to go out to bid in the federal fiscal year, especially in the first year of the TIP. It's very important. If a project we have scheduled for 2025 is not ready to go out for bid, basically this region could lose out on that money. Basically, it would just revert back into the state coffers and be used for statewide projects. Could be anywhere. So our aim is to spend out as much as we can, make the best decisions we can, considering the evaluation scores, the costs, the project readiness, what have you. So this is a major point of discussion this year in the target section, this Ashburnham project. In 2026, Harvard resurfacing and box widening on Air Road. This is on schedule right now, and this is advanced constructed over 2 years. We're also carrying it in 2027. Everything looks to be good so far. It's on schedule, and we plan on keeping it on 2026. Templeton reconstruction of 68. This project is in 2026. There's a few items that pop up with this. There are concerns about design progress, project readiness, although it is 1 federal fiscal year back, so it's not as much of a risk to leave it in 2026, but we will have to consider moving it around due to project readiness. Also, we don't have the numbers yet, but we do anticipate a significant cost increase, which will affect our decision-making because it's a fiscally constrained document and will be over target if it has a drastic increase like we anticipate. So to be determined on what happens with this project and what effects it has on the whole list. We're still in the process of reaching out to some project proponents and at DOT, and we need to reach out to the town again as well. This is something that's popped up the last few years, so we plan on getting a better hold on it before we have more detailed discussions next month. As for 2027, we have the second half of the Harvard project on Air Road, along with Clinton reconstruction of Sterling Street and Athol intersection improvements at 2A and Brookside Road. These all look to be on schedule for now. We'll keep our eyes on them and make sure things are progressing. And it's a simple year to deal with when we're looking at scenarios. It's just all the projects moving around it that we'll have to make some decisions. In 2028, Fitchburg reconstruction of John Fitch Highway, along with Sterling intersection improvements at 140 and 62. Seems like these are on schedule. We'll keep on giving updates on these. Again, this is a few federal fiscal years back, so if there is issues, there's time to work themselves out. But we'll keep you updated on these. And finally, 2029 is our new program year we're pulling in this update. And we'll be looking to schedule some of these projects that we have in what's called the appendix of the target section. So these are projects which we haven't identified a year to fund yet. And they're at various levels of design. Number of projects I highlighted here. Of course, we have the 2 new projects we haven't scored yet. So we'll be waiting for information on those. We also have some projects identified as candidates to move forward. And this is because of design status and some of the updates what we've been getting. So this is where we stand now. Next month, I plan on having some information and some scenarios for funding that this group can comment on. In the meantime, if you have a project in your community on this list, please stay on top of your design consultant. This is one of the main issues that we see year in and year out is just something with the design stalls, and all of a sudden we're looking to move things around. And this year is no different. Again, if there's any questions about your project or any questions about the TEC, or if you want to review your project with me or anyone else here, please reach out to me and I'll try to give as much information as I possibly can. So are there any questions on where we stand with tip development for 2025 through 29?
Yeah, can I ask a question? A couple questions, actually. So in terms of the getting a project on the TIP program, can we have a couple things that I don't know how ready they are, but is it possible to get some assistance here with getting our project on the TIP list, if you will? We have I'm from Townsend, and we don't have a planner per se. Would somebody be able to help us with that?
Yeah, so basically what the process is Mass DOT has sort of like an onboarding process for this, and they I can reach out to you with additional information, Beth. Basically, it's through the project information website and the project need forms, and I'll try to get some information out to you. Basically, where you should start is the district and reach out to them. And
Okay.
once we have a project approved from Mass DOT, then we list it on this list here.
Okay, so Mass DOT, we're District 3, I believe. I would
Yep.
reach out to that. Okay, great. And the other question I have is, once you have a project on the list, does it ever get removed? Like I see you have a cost increase for one that's possibly $12 million. Is it just going to stay there, or is it going to be like removed, or how does that work?
It'll stay there, and hopefully, if we do see an increase like that, maybe they'll carry it on the state side. But that's not how it's supposed to happen. But the fact that we have to stay within fiscal constraints of our targets each year caused a lot of problems, especially recently as inflation has taken hold. All these projects have seen some sort of an increase, and some of them have been pretty drastic. We'll keep this project on and consider it, and that goes for any project. And the town has really put a lot of effort, and most of these towns have invested in the design of these projects as well, which is also a requirement. It's a significant investment. So our goal is to get these out to bid as soon as possible.
Great.
If there's a cost increase, we can't do much about it.
Yep.
Sometimes we get some help through other funding sources if it's such a drastic increase like this. But that's kind of like a case-by-case basis. And each year we have problems that we run into. In recent years, it's been design problems and cost increases. So that's where we get into like really discussing what scenarios what we should be looking at. And next month I think we'll have some examples of scenarios we could possibly pursue with this group and try to get some feedback.
Awesome. That's great.
It might be a good idea to have maybe a presentation to the JTC on how to get a project approved on this list, because that comes up often and there is a process. But everyone's in a different position. Where a lot of the communities don't have a person whose job it is to get a project on the tip, of course. So,
Right.
you're not alone, and we're always, it would be great to expand the list of projects that we list here. And you hate to see projects sort of like exist on the appendix for years. But the idea is to have some community buy-in with the funding of the design and everything like that, and see a project move forward that you wouldn't otherwise be able to fund.
Is there an enrollment period, or is it like constant and constant?
It's ongoing, and they typically have like project approval committee type of meetings that they we'll get notifications once they approve a project. Then we'll put it on our list, and we'll begin the process of gathering information and scoring the project and adding it to the discussion.
Excellent. Thank you.
So if there's any other questions, feel free to reach out to me at any time, and we'll be looking at this information, continuing to update all the information on these projects over the next few weeks. And like I said, next month will be a sort of a more looking at scenarios and hopefully get some sort of a consensus on which scenario to move forward. So hopefully no other problems arise between then and now, but we'll see. We're ready for anything. And that's all I have on 25 through 29 tip for today. Next, we have our Unified Planning Work Program, and we have a review of equity analysis. So Sherry's going to go through this, and I'll try to reshare a presentation that she'll use. If I can find it.
We'll just intro while he's getting the share screen. Every year for the Unified Planning Work Program, we do some sort of equity analysis, and that involves special population equities as well as geographic equity analysis. So this is the write-up that this is just basically a snippet of the whole document, and it just kind of hones in on the distribution of studies and tasks, which is where we go into all the equity stuff. Our GIS department pulls this together for us every year. So we are using the 2018 to 2022 American Community Survey 5-year estimates for this. And because we have a couple of different special population categories, we have environmental justice, We have FTA Title VI communities and FHWA Title VI communities. And we actually used all three in this analysis because we're not sure, I'm not sure if there's one that should be used more stronger than the others. So we like to just look at them all. And some we have block groups and some are census tracts. So it kind of depends on the type of data we're looking at. If you scroll down. Okay, so this is just the breakdown of each type of data grouping. So environmental justice is first, and it kind of tells you a little bit about what types of populations are in the environmental justice grouping, as well as where we lie versus the statewide percentages. You can scroll down. I'm not going to go into too much detail because you'll be given the draft document, so you will see all this anyway. But this is a 5-year task review, so we go over the last 5 years and all the projects that we've worked on and where they lie within these specific categories and whether they check the box or not for those special populations. So you can scroll down, those are all 5 years and all the different types of projects and the communities that we've worked in. And then you can see this one, the current year, we don't have any data in because we have yet to choose the specific projects that we'll be working on. That will be at our next month's meeting, although I will briefly explain which communities have requested specific projects. So based on that, you can see that we have like 12 communities that lie under environmental justice. We have 17 FTA Title VI communities and then 21 FHWA Title VI communities. There's a little bit more analysis within this write-up, but that's basically the gist, and you actually kind of goes right into this table right here. So the highlighted communities are communities that have all three different categories. And then in the final right-hand column, it talks about how many projects we've done in those communities within that last 5-year period. So we're kind of more looking or zoning into those communities that are highlighted just because they meet all three categories. And we hope to make sure that we at least have a project or two within those communities to make sure that, you know, we spread out the projects and make sure we have all those populations covered. This is just the special population analysis. We do have a geographic analysis coming up too. So this map basically explains what that table explained. Just more visually. So the pink are more, the darker pink includes more of the special population communities, and then the blue represents the projects. So the darker blue, the more projects. So that purple area also would be the special populations, and as you can see, like the white ones have the fewest projects done and also the fewest special population groups. So you can kind of see where we kind of have most of our projects are in those dark blue, like the cities, including air. That's where we've done most of the projects over the last couple of years. And we should probably focus a little bit more on those, the pinker, I would say, communities. We scroll down, I think there's one more map. Okay, here's the geographic equity map. So the darker, like the brown or orangey brown color, so Fitchburg, for instance, is the community that we've done 4 separate projects for. So that involves like more projects were done in Fitchburg. And then the communities that are white, we have yet to do a special project specific to that community over the last 5 years. They have been included in regional projects, but not necessarily just for that community. So we do want to make sure that we can include those communities if they have special requests or in some fashion. So based on this analysis, you can see a lot of the smaller rural communities don't typically request projects for one reason or another, but we would like to make sure that they are included in our UPWP for programming, as well as, I mean, the cities are also really important because they have most of the special populations, but we do, you can see based on the maps that I've just provided, we do a lot of special projects in those areas already. So that's kind of where we have to gauge where we might be working in this upcoming year. So following that information, we did receive, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 communities have requested projects that solicitation had ended last Friday on the 9th, so we are no longer taking project requests for this upcoming year. However, if you do have a project in mind, and there's a significant, we're going to word our memo a little differently this year. If there's a significant need for the community, and this is a project that has been kind of on your radar for a while, that's definitely a project that would be eligible. However, if it's just a project that you're kind of just pulling almost out of nowhere, and you're just thinking this might be a good avenue to like explore, but you don't really have a general like end result for it. Maybe you're not ready for an improvement project or anything like that. Then maybe you wait a little bit longer and kind of filter out those needs. We've been having a lot of communities request specific projects and then basically not doing, it kind of sits on a shelf. They're not doing a lot with them, and that's getting a little discouraging. So we're trying to make sure that we make that message a little bit more clear. But the communities that did request projects included Ashburnham, Ashby, Harvard, Leominster, Shirley, Townsend, and Westminster. So because there's such a large number of requests, we can't possibly do them all, but we will be reviewing these projects, probably contacting a lot of the communities unless the project is super clear. We really understand it, but we want to make sure we understand what the requests are and that we're capable of doing them within the time frame, and then also within budget constraints. And then also keeping in mind the equity analysis that I just presented, we want to make sure that we're including communities that we might not normally include or that do have those special populations. Does anybody have any questions on any of that? At the March meeting, we will be going over the requests and then putting together a draft project listing along with the budgets for each of those. So you'll have more opportunities to chime in on that as well. That's all I have for UPWP.
Are there any questions about the UPWP or any specific project questions? I think there's a question in the chat, Sherry, about Harvard as
Yeah, I was actually going to mention that because it does kind of seem funny. Brian, if you scroll back up to the pinky blue map, it does show Harvard.
This comes up often too. I think a large part of it, and maybe not quote me on this, but it has to do with elderly populations, and that kind of qualifies Harvard and other different areas.
I actually think it's mostly on the prison because they're considered residents of the town, that their demographics are all included. Because Harvard isn't necessarily known to be super diverse, but with the prison population, it definitely increases that diversity. So that's definitely something to consider as well. It might not be necessarily as strong in those special populations grouping. So it's really hard to take that out. That's something the census has always struggled with, I think.
And I think that because this is, again, just like TIP projects, this is just one type of thing that we look at when considering projects. You know, a lot of times we look back at just the number of projects we've done in a community each year. Some communities never ask for anything, and they may ask for something, and it might be worthy, and we'll probably take that on regardless of demographics or anything like that. But this is just actually a federal requirement that we look at this information. But we do consider it, and it's along with all the other things that we consider. So I guess next month we'll probably have some more information on this. In same, it'll be the same timeline as the TIP. We plan on having a draft UPWP for April. Sorry, let me just try to share my screen again. Switching applications. Okay. So I think we'll probably go a little bit more into detail on the projects that we suggest taking on. And in the meantime, we'll probably be reaching out to communities to talk a little bit more about their projects so we can write up a task for review from this group and the MPO as well. So next on the agenda is item 7, contract status reports. And under FTA and RTA, I know we don't have any updates. I don't know if George, do you have an update for Mark?
Yes, I have some good news to share with you. As part of the Fair Share program, MART implemented several new services to its bus routes in the MART region. We start early this year. On January 16, MART implemented a new bus route in Gardner, Route 3, which runs north-south in 30-minute loop, connecting the shopping centers and the Haywood Hospital. And also on February 5th, MART added more frequent service on the intercity route between Fitchburg, Leominster, and Gardner. That intercity schedule used to run only during the college season. And now we are proposing to have this service all year round with more frequent service. And also we added Saturday's schedule for the intercity route and the Winchendon link. And also we added Sunday service to Gardner and Atoll Orange bus routes. And soon MART will be adding Sunday service to some of Fitchburg and Leominster bus routes, and more frequent service to Worcester and Boston shuttles. And I hope that you can take this information to your towns and cities and let the people use it, especially MART is running 6 months of a free fare service will end of June of 2024. This is what I have. Thank you.
Thanks, George. And as far as Mass DOT 3C, we do have one handout, and this is we're sharing on behalf of the North Central Mass Anchor Collaborative. It's regarding a master plan for the future of mobility in North Central Mass. And there's a meeting scheduled Thursday, February 29th from 8 to 11 a.m. in person at Montachusett Community College in Leominster. So we encourage anyone interested to sign up for that. And that's all I have for updates for Mass DOT. Moving on to item 8, administrative matters. Next meeting will be March 13th at 2:30, held remotely again, and we'll get the meeting invites out. I apologize to anyone who didn't get the meeting invite last week. Typically, I know Brad in the past has done it a week before the meeting. We have different outreach groups on our email, Outlook email, and I'm still trying to figure out which groups to include in these mailings to not blast it out to 1,000 people, but you know, have a decent amount of people and everyone that's normally involved. So I apologize if you didn't get it last week, if you just got it yesterday for the first time, and I'll do better next month. So, but that's all I have, and the next item is adjournment.
Can I ask for one more update, Brian?
Sure.
It says in the minutes, I missed the last meeting, so I apologize, but I noticed in the minutes there was an SS4A grant update given by George Snow, and that you are going to be providing more information, I think, on the Vision Zero Action Committee. Do you have anything on that?
Yes, actually. So the Safe Streets for All is a grant that we've gotten. We spoke about it a few times in the past. Basically, it's a federal grant that we've gotten, $750,000 from US DOT. It's for to develop a plan and identify basically and prioritize safety issues in the region along transit and transportation facilities. So we've actually engaged a consultant, WSP International. They're helping us. They're taking the main lead on developing this plan, and part of that is to gather a group that will help us guide the plan, a Vision Zero Action Committee. This group, we've been reaching out to members. We're actually meeting Thursday as an initial meeting with some initial members who we've identified. If you're interested in being involved, please let us know, and maybe we can get you on. I know WSP, our consultant, has done these type of things. They're like one of the trailblazers. They've done these Vision Zero action plans in a number of different places throughout the world, really, and they're very well known for doing it in this area as well. So the idea is to basically get this group together, along with a number of different data resources and other resources, and identify projects that we will then be able to apply for federal funds to get improvements. So this Vision Zero Action Committee is in the process of being identified now. We're meeting with some initial members tomorrow, and of course, if you're interested, reach out to us and we can try to get you in the group.
Thank you.
And we'll have some more updates for the JTC as well. It's a big part of what we're going to be doing for the next year and a half. It's a great get for the region. Really hope that it results in some actual projects that get built for a change. But again, this is the first step in putting together the plan and the groups and all the data points and everything like that. So we'll have many more updates to come. Other than that, so I think that's it. There is one more question. George, there's a question about the Haywood extension. Does that still require people to transfer to a different bus stop to get the Athol campus?
Yes. We have right now the Athol link. It is operating between downtown downtown Gardner to downtown Athol with more frequent service. The people from Haywood Hospital, Gardner, they have to transfer in Gardner. And that, I don't know, we did not have any complaint from anybody using the system. And I know Chelsea asking that question. Do you know the ridership between two hospitals?
George, all I know is that Haywood itself has complained that they can't realistically like put people on a bus from their campus and then tell them that they're just gonna have to like get on a different bus somewhere else in town in order to get to Athol. So they have not been really doing that. But they are trying to figure out how to get better connectivity between their campuses in a way that's patient friendly.
Yeah, it is very user friendly. It is at the same stop behind, at the shelter behind the City Hall of Gardner. We created a direct route, the one I just mentioned, Gardner Route 3, which connect downtown directly to the hospital, like an express. And people coming from Atoll, they can transfer at that stop there to Route 3 or Route 1 or Route 2. They have 3 options to get to the hospital. But we found out that system gives more frequent service between the 2 towns, between Gardner and Atoll and Orange. And we're doing the same thing with Fitchburg, Leominster, and Gardner. We're connecting the 2 downtown or the 3 downtown together, between downtown Gardner to downtown Fitchburg, downtown Leominster, and more frequent on intercity bus routes. Thank you.
All right, thank you, George.
You're welcome.
So as I mentioned, under administrative matters, the next meeting is March 13th at 2:30. So do I have a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, we'll see you all next month.
Okay, have fun. Bye.